So I hope every one of you have given your audit paper superb. And on a scale of 10, I will rate this paper as 6. It's an above average paper, not a tough paper at all. In fact, some students are saying it was easy, but what I felt was it is above average. It's not that easy. And most importantly, I hope you have seen my audit strategy video where I said to ignore 3 chapters straight away. And MTP, RTP related questions, anyhow, I have solved and uploaded, top 65 questions in the name of MTP, RTP. And from that, from that, some 3-4 questions straight away copy pasted. In fact, at the time of MTP also, I told that this may be asked. Fine, anyhow. Second priority, different types of entities, risk assessment and internal control, audit strategy. Put together, actually with the choice, if I have to say, 34 marks was asked in descriptive. Probably I feel in objective, it might have been. Actually, students said there is no objective question on these chapters, but if at all were there also 40 marks, which means rest 80 marks of the paper, as I always promise. 3/4 syllabus, 80 marks paper come from the first priority chapters, which I always tell. And really, the paper is as expected. It is as per the expectation. It is not based upon the trend analysis. I give this, I choose this particular, the first priority, last priority based on the difficulty level. So whatever chapters I generally keep at last priority, they're very difficult, time taking, but the weightage is, 32, 35 marks. So this is what even I told. Getting it? And so straight away, I will read from the last question in this paper. You can see, in this paper, I will be taking third question as choice. In this paper, I will be taking third question as choice because 10 marks straight away, that is from risk assessment, audit strategy chapter. Anyhow, I'll show you. So, and the super part is all these questions, especially in my regular class, I told exactly the same way questions were come. I specifically told any topic you take from this in my regular class, it is clearly told this way this question can come and exactly it came. Fine, I'll show you. So JK Limited has opened a new manufacturing unit and further they want plant and machinery. Since capital outflow will be huge, they are considering taking it on lease. They have approached several parties and have shortlisted one of them who is ready to give the plan for 11 years, which is approximately estimated economic life of the asset. As per the agreement, JK Limited only will bear the insurance and maintenance. Oh, it's a finance lease. What kind of lease agreement? It's a finance lease. What is the accounting treatment? You have to capitalize in the books of accounts. And what are the tax benefits? You will get depreciation as well as interest deduction. That's it. I think the same question is there in RTP, MTP also. In RTP, MTP, what is the difference between finance lease and operating lease? What is the accounting treatment? There is a question. In MTP 1 or 2 or RTP, somewhere it was there. RTP, MTP, straight question, it was copied. Next. So I will show you RTP, MTP. Now, till now, RTP, MTP questions, how many have come? 3. One is 3 marks question now. Next. So this is regarding 450. This is regarding 450. If you observe my part 4 marathon, in that I specifically told 450 documentation question, it might come. You can open and check my audit marathon 4 parts further. In that 4th part, I have covered this 450. So Mr. D, an auditor, has identified certain misstatements. He had communicated the same to top management and also taken representation. State audit documentation required by them regarding misstatements identified during the audit. Misstatements identified during the audit. 450 documentation. Getting you, sorry. 450 evaluation of misstatements identified during the audit. In that documentation part question last month, which I covered in the marathon also part 4. So next. MNB Bank advanced certain loans guaranteed. Just a minute. Just a minute. Huh? Yeah. So MNB Limited has advanced certain loans guaranteed by government. State the prudential norm for asset classification income such loan. Government guaranteed loans. Bank audit, government guaranteed, central government guaranteed loans. Yes or no? Like it will never turn into an NPA. Because central government guarantees there, but interest on that cannot be recognized on accrual basis. Getting it? However, for principal purpose, it is not an NPA. Straight question from bank audit, which I told even in the marathon. In part 1 or part 2 of the marathon, you will find bank audit. In that, this discussion is there. Sanskar Foundation is an NGO for orphan. They have received voluntary contribution of 50 lakhs from promoters, specifying that 20 lakhs towards corpus. And explain the terms corpus and revolving fund. Corpus contribution means what? Revolving fund. In my regular class, I told this itself can be asked as a question. I in fact, explained these 2 points more specifically when I'm doing NGO audit explanation in my regular class. Those of you, my regular class students, can easily sync with it. Different types of entities. But this is one, as per me, this is a second priority. But you know what? Instead of this, you can write this 220 question you can write. So technically, you are not losing anything here. So this you can write. Now here, CAM is engagement partner of Y2Z LLP and he is auditing financials of a listed entity. Okay. The firm has determined an engagement quality control is required. Discuss the responsibility. It's a straight question. I even covered in my part 4 marathon. This can be asked. Then this is regarding a Nidhi company. What are the reporting requirements for Nidhi company? Of course, I always tell Caro is very important. But actually, Nidhi company rules I didn't cover in Caro. Only important clauses I covered. Generally, Nidhi is not that important, so I didn't cover. But still, when I say in a marathon, I didn't specifically cover this point. But I tell people 3/4 syllabus don't leave any one point also. Next. A chartered accountant, this is a professional accountant is expected to comply with the fundamental principles of ethics at all times. Explain which fundamental principle governing professional ethics is violated. A CA in practice accepted appointment as an auditor of a firm in which sister was a partner. Independence requirement is violated. A CA in practice was appointed by his friend to seek some insider information about a company which was a client of a CA. He could not refuse a friend's request. Confidentiality. A CA in practice failed to inform his client about changes in law and regulation applicable. Professional competence. Next. So it's an easy question. HR and associates are auditors of large manufacturing. The company has recently invested huge property equipment in new unit. They have added many incidental expenses to cost of PP. The junior team are not sure about which costs are to be excluded. This exact question I pointed out in part 4 marathon. This itself can be asked as a question in the in the exam. I told in part 4 marathon. You go and check with this. So a 4 marks question. I was telling students are only reading items of financials, so some important points. No, I told very clearly any question can come. This can be asked like this. This can be asked like this. I told specifically this point in the part 4 marathon. You can go and open. You can check it out. So it's good actually. The next one. PQ & Co want to diversify its business and for the purpose they want to raise money by issuing shares to the general public. The face value is 100. Oh, discount. So shares issued at discount. I have covered it in marathon, P4 marathon, items of financials. Getting it? It's nothing but you just have to read company law provision. A company cannot issue shares at discount except in equity, sweat equity and debt conversion. Next. XY associates are auditors of EGR which provides electric components on project basis. The purchase are huge. Oh, I think this is regarding what are the analytical processes required to perform to obtain evidence regarding purchase quantity. I told in part 2 or part 1 marathon in items of financials, P&L items, analytical procedures for purchase is important question. I told already. So this one, very simple. Those of you who followed my preparation strategy, nothing but 3/4 syllabus preparation strategy, they definitely do well. Provided they should not take 1% choice within that. 1/4 syllabus you ignore always, no problem at all. Rest 3/4 is with you. That's it. That is what important. And this one, additional regulatory information regarding loans to the following borrowers means company has given loans and advances to somebody for that additional regulatory information. Remember funding party, intermediary, ultimate beneficiary, disclosure requirements. I specifically covered in marathon if you want to go and see. In the share capital explanation, I covered this. And at the time I told the same is applicable for borrowings also. The same is applicable for loans and advances given also. I clearly covered there. So this is also explained in marathon. What not? Every question in this came from my revision marathon itself. But revision marathon, no, we don't cover in depth. We only give a brief idea. I have the happy thing is I have said these kind of questions might come and exactly they came. Branch audit. Mr. L is principal auditor. There are several divisions that are audited by other auditors. State the procedures he should ordinarily perform. So principal auditors procedures in our book F point, nothing but in branch audit inside that one of the point is there F point. The same I have covered in marathon again. You can go open and check. KLM & Co. is a chartered accountants, a partnership firm. While designing test of controls and test of details has to determine items for testing that can be effective in meeting. Okay. For this, they decided to select specific items from populations. MTP2 first question. I clearly explained that time also in MTP2. I clearly told this can be asked. I told also that point exactly. Specific items testing what factors. So getting it in SA 500 it is covered. In actual ISA stat material under 500 it is discovered. So in our material, in our audit material, 14B question, RTP, MTP also discovered. Actually from RTP, MTP, this time more than 3-4 questions have come, straight questions. Next. So 3 questions over, 4, 5, 6 over almost. Now, PSR and associates are auditors of the Saturn Hotel, a chain of 5-star hotels. Since the nature of business is prone to frauds, the company is appointed internal auditors. The company advised, okay, in order to ensure effectiveness, what kind of coordination should be there between external auditor and internal? Coordination between external. Question number 10 to even this is covered in our marathon. Next. You are appointed as auditor of a company manufacturing paints. The company has robust system of internal control. Most of the controls in the company are automated and they are working effectively. How in certain situation manual elements are more suitable? What are circumstances? Risk assessment chapter, I told it's a second priority, but in my regular class, I told this itself can be asked as a question. Where automated controls are more suitable can be asked as a separate question. Where manual elements are more suitable can be asked as a separate question. Like this, I have told in my class also specifically. Those of you who watched my class, regular class, can sync it with, can relate to this. The management changed during the audit. Mr. G, auditor, at the time of receiving representation. Okay, what is this question is about? The management changed during the period under audit. Mr. G, an auditor at the time of receiving representation on the management responsibilities, was in dilemma related to date and period. I think by mistake I put like this. This is SA 550. Sorry, SA 580 representation. Further, the new management has a view that they can give representation. No, this itself I told in marathon clearly. You open part 1 or part 2, 580 timestamp will be there. Inside that last discussion period covered by representation, there is a point I specifically told. I highlighted this. Now, auditor can ask representation from the current management not only about the period for which they were in office, but about the previous periods also. And you know what? The same thing asked in CA final recent audit paper. The same question was asked in CA final audit paper also in May 24. The same question, but the wordings are different. But same theme was tested in CA final. If you want, check my CA final paper review. Inside that this is covered. Next, and this is again an MTP RTP question. MTP RTP question. So, planning includes considering certain matters prior to identification of risk. Enumerate such matters. What are the points to be considered in planning? So, that one. So, here actually, no, third question is not choice, ma. A third question I think you can write, because in third question, only 4 plus 3, 7. Only 7 marks is what coming from second category chapter. Getting it? So, it depends on person to person. Next, question number 2. Give some examples of factors that are significant in directing engagement teams' efforts. My regular class students, if at all you watched my audit strategy chapter, inside that one of the side heading is regarding this. What are the factors that affect in developing overall audit strategy? Inside that there are 5 factors. One of the factors is significant in, judgment in professional judgment, factors for deciding judgment regarding directing engagement team efforts. I told every segment can be asked as a separate question, I told, and the same has come, and the same point is even there in the RTP MTP. On the day of exam or before the day of exam, I uploaded RTP MTP video with a heading called top 65 questions. Inside that this is there. I told every student has to watch this after finishing their syllabus, and all these RTP MTP questions are very much important. So if at all those who followed my strategy plus RTP MTP, those who studied thoroughly, they would have really performed this well. This paper well, entire this descriptive, they would have given more than 60 marks. They would have attempted more than 60. They would have attempted out of 70. And many are saying MCQs were damn easy, and it's good actually. Next, this is regarding nature, objective, and scope of audit. Inside that, inherent limitations related to future events. That point only they tested. Just a small answer, 2 points answer. So 3 marks question. Next. This even more good actually. In 501 I told in marathon. They will specifically ask you letter of specific inquiry, letter of general inquiry. What points when auditor want to meet, if at all company did not permit auditor to meet, what is a recourse? Specifically we discussed from 501 in the marathon itself. In the classroom, no need. In the regular class, you need not even worry, because I tell all the permutations and combinations. I explain so in depth. Then now this is regarding risk assessment and internal control. Enquiries. One of the risk assessment procedure is inquiry. Enquiries to whom? Enquiry to internal audit staff, inquiry to in-house legal counsel, inquiry to marketing people, inquiry to information system people. Only 4 points only there. Those 4 points are asking you to elaborate. So again, next, this one is documentation related regarding assembly of final audit file and retention period. It was asked in RTP MTP actually. It was there in RTP MTP. Then this is regarding IFC. In the part 4 of my marathon, you go and check. IFC point exactly I covered this. Part 4 of my marathon, you go and check. Internal financial controls, reporting responsibilities on directors, independent directors, and audit committee. I specifically covered these 3. Next, and I'm very happy actually the paper was very expected, and this is accounting standard. I don't know what he tested accounting standard question in audit, but nevertheless as an auditor you must be having the knowledge of all the subjects, so probably on that assumption they might have tested this accounting. And those of you who are unit 2D students would have forgot inventory valuation. So for them, it is difficult to answer. And 1A, this is regarding what factors we should consider while preparing an audit program. Actually, that is not the question. In our book, it is question number 13. A standardized audit program may not be suitable for all the clients. Getting it? So that question is what they asked. So question number 13 in our audit strategy. So what I want to convey is, whatever second priority chapters I have told, not even 10 marks, actually 7. So 30 marks only came from the second priority chapter out of this 90. Out of this 90, descriptive paper is for 90, remember. 30 marks only came, which means remaining 60 marks you can attempt. Remaining 60. For sure, whoever followed that strategy, 50 plus you would have definitely attempted. And from our tip itself, some 3-4 questions. So I hope you really did well. It's not a very tough paper. It's an above average paper. Getting it? And I was hearing from students that MCQ so very easy actually. But if that is the case, 5 out of 10 is the overall difficulty of this paper. Descriptive itself 6 out of 10 because most of them are straight questions, no complexity involved. And I hope you really done well. So focus on the next examination and do well. That's it. All the best.